Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. This is Beyond Wilders One. We are glad you're watching. I'm Eric Njoka. The headlines. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz loses confidence vote in parliament, paves the way for an early general election on February 23rd. Meets German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier, seeks dissolution of parliament. Huge setback for Justin Trudeau's government. Canada's Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland resigns over policy clash with the Prime Minister. Eleven Indians from northern India killed in a suspected carbon monoxide gas poisoning at an Indian hotel in Georgia. Initial inspection of victims' bodies revealed no signs of injuries or violence among the deceased. U.S. warship USS Savannah docks in Cambodia in the first American military port call in the country in 8 years. The arrival near a Chinese naval base comes amid Washington's deteriorating relationship with Phnom Penh as China makes strong overtures. Bashar al-Assad says he fled Syria only after Damascus had fallen and denounced the country's new leaders as terrorists in his first remarks since rebels seized the capital and unseated him. Defense Minister Israel Katz says Israel and Hamas are closer than ever to reaching a ceasefire and hosted deal in Gaza, this even as Israel continues to strike Gaza.
Aftermath from a rare tornado was still being dealt with in Scotts Valley today.
No tornado warning was issued by the National Weather Service. ABC 7 News reporter Zach Fuentes spoke with experts about why a thunderstorm warning was issued instead of a tornado warning.
And he's live in Scotts Valley for us with the response. Hey, Zach.
Hey there, yeah, we're on Mount Herman Road in Scotts Valley. This is one of the busiest roads in Santa Cruz County and the area impacted by that tornado. Stoplights up and down this road only just started working again a couple of hours ago. We're talking 2 days after the tornado. But the aftermath isn't just about fixing and repairing the physical damage. It's also about learning lessons and figuring out how to better prepare and warn people for another event like it. Crews were still hard at work 2 days after this tornado swept through this area in Scotts Valley Saturday. All of the damage happening in a short but frightening amount of time.
The information that we have right now is generally less than 5 minutes.
The day of the tornado, the National Weather Service issued a tornado warning in San Francisco. A tornado there never happened, but in Scotts Valley, it was a thunderstorm warning that was issued, not a tornado warning. We asked why.
It can get a little hard to tell with on radar what's going on in the mountains, especially when you have terrain like that. It can get pretty tough to tell.
The National Weather Service said that the thunderstorm warning does still call on people to seek shelter in the centermost room of a sturdy building, a warning they hope people will take seriously.
Severe thunderstorms that are rotating can produce tornadoes. They may not at times, as we saw in San Francisco, but they are still dangerous thunderstorms that is why we issued the separate warnings for them.
AccuWeather Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Porter says even though tornadoes are rare in the rugged terrain of Santa Cruz County, the thunderstorm cell that spawned the tornado was trouble from the beginning.
In this scenario, the right conditions came together in exactly the right spot to produce this damaging tornado.
Scotts Valley City Manager Molly Legault said the city works closely with the National Weather Service and hopes lessons can be learned.
They called it in San Francisco and then it didn't happen, and then they saw it here and didn't think it could happen, so didn't want to maybe scare people. But I think in the future we have to realize that severe weather is real and it's happening, and just because it hasn't happened here before doesn't mean it can't happen in the future.
Now, the National Weather Service says it's in the beginning stages of its after-action review. This is something they do after every weather event to see what they can do better and to, of course, pour over all of the data they received from this weather event. In the meantime, though, they are telling everyone to take the alerts they issue seriously because, as we see, these weather events can be potentially damaging. Right now, live in Scotts Valley, Zach Fuentes, ABC 7 News.
All right, Zach, thanks very much.
Okay, breaking this morning, ousted Syrian President Bashar al-Assad appears to have issued his first statement since the fall of his regime over a week ago, giving new details about his final hours in Syria before being evacuated to Russia. A statement was posted to the social media account of the Syrian presidency. It claims Assad was moved from the capital of Damascus to a Russian airbase in Syria on the morning of December 8th as the rebels moved in. He claims the base came under, quote, intensified attack by drones before Moscow ordered an immediate evacuation that evening. He also says that at no point during the events did he consider, quote, stepping down or seeking refuge. Now, with the fall of his regime, many now wonder what the future holds for the country. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Holly Williams has more from eastern Syria.
We have spent the last several days here in eastern Syria with American-backed forces that control around a quarter of the country. In the city of Raqqa, that's the former ISIS capital, the headquarters of the so-called Islamic State, we saw those American-backed forces patrolling city streets where they've brought stability and security. But the American-backed forces are worried that the collapse of the Syrian regime in Damascus and a power vacuum that may develop in its aftermath could give ISIS an opportunity to try and stage a comeback. There are even concerns that ISIS could try to join up with some of the rebel forces that toppled the regime. We also visited a high-security jail in this region holding thousands of ISIS prisoners. Now, a prison break there in 2022 led to a 10-day battle to regain control, and the jail remains a major target for ISIS operatives that still exist here as sleeper cells and hideouts in the desert. The jail's warden told us that they are not telling the prisoners that the regime in Damascus was toppled because it could, quote, create disobedience. He believes that ISIS is mobilizing. Back to you.
All right, Holly, thank you very much.
Now, at least 2 health workers and a police officer were killed in Pakistan as gunmen targeted vaccination teams during a nationwide campaign against the polio virus. Pakistan has seen a surge in polio cases, recording 63 cases this year compared with 6 in the last year. On Monday, the country recorded and it launched a week-long house-to-house vaccination campaign. The police officer was traveling with the 2 healthcare workers when they were attacked by motorcyclists. No group immediately claimed responsibility for the attack. Polio campaign has been temporarily suspended in Shakar Khel, the village where the incident took place, but continues to take place in other parts of the northwest province bordering Afghanistan. Pakistan and neighboring Afghanistan are the only countries where polio remains an endemic. Afghanistan has reported at least 23 polio cases in 2024, up from 6 last year. WHO officials have cited multiple factors for resurgence of polio cases in the two countries. The global body noted the false propaganda that anti-polio campaigns are a Western plot to sterilize Muslim children. It has led to vaccine boycotts. Now, the vaccination teams in the two countries have frequently come under attack. In January, at least 5 police officers were killed and nearly 24 others were wounded after an explosive device targeted their vehicle during a vaccination drive in Bajaur, a tribal district in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province.
نفذت القوة الصاروخية عملية عسكرية استهدفت هدفا عسكريا للعدو الإسرائيلي في منطقة يافا المحتلة، وذلك بصاروخ باليستي فرط صوتي نوع فلسطين 2. وقد حققت العملية أهدافها بنجاح بفضل الله.
In New Jersey and other parts of the country, more people are looking up to the sky more often, and they're seeing what they describe as large drones, but what exactly they are and what purpose they have, we're not getting any answers.
It's hovering, it's sitting right there.
Mysterious drone sightings over multiple states have led to widespread confusion and growing calls for answers.
Americans are finding it hard to believe. We can't figure out where these are coming from.
The Department of Homeland Security and the FBI are investigating the sightings. The agencies say so far there is no threat to public safety or evidence of foreign influence.
It just did a 180 turn.
This video was taken just before 11 o'clock last night by Patrick Ellis in La Mesa.
When it made a 180-degree turn, there was no curvature in the turn. It was just straight. Take your controller, flip, you're on it, and it started heading back in the opposite direction.